Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 391. Artificial name versus natural name. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. Definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. This is an episode focused on a lot of times what a lot of people are not familiar with, which is, you get into this vigilante mentality that, oh, I'm separate from the state and things of that nature. And we get a lot of people that reach out to the vault and they talk about whether it's non citizenship or anything of that nature. Um, we talk about focusing on building a business because the artificial name is a business. And this is where you get a lot of people that get this confused and they want to make something more than what it really is. If the artificial name is a business, why not just go out and start a new business? Oh, the natural name. Well, who am I under? I'm not under anybody. I'm a sovereign citizen. This is where you got that whole movement behind the sovereign citizen thought process. Is, oh, I'm a sovereign citizen. You're a sovereign citizen. Like, why would you want to be that? Like, and we always ask them very critical questions because the freedoms that they so-called seem to think that they can enjoy, they're at someone else's expense. So, once again, the artificial name we understand is a business. Some people say, "Oh, it's a trust. It's a SSK trust. It was set up by the government. They created these things and these things for me, and blah blah blah." This isn't legal advice or financial advice, but we're having a conversation. These are the conversations that are being brought to us that are stated. Oh, well, the artificial name this is the birth certificate. The artificial name is on the birth certificate. It's in all capitals. That's why the name's in all capitals. Okay, so what does that mean? Is it an entity? Well, yeah, it's an entity. It's a dead entity, and I can do all this fancy stuff off of it because it's a business. So you don't have to build equity in the entity. You just can utilize higher forms of accounting to basically say that the entity is not making any money. That's what this whole situation is about. Oh, this entity is not really making money, so it comes down to accounting. How many people that talk about this type of stuff are aware of the accounting aspect of it, are focused on the accounting aspect of it? Most people we get that come to us talking about it, they talking about it from a perspective of utilizing securities and talking about securities and things of that nature. Oh, I have a security agreement between me and my all caps name. I have a security agreement between my artificial name. Okay, so you have a security agreement. The natural being, right? The natural name, right? Right, I have a security agreement with the entity. So who signed off on the entity's behalf? Well, I had to sign it too because, I didn't really have anybody there. So I had to sign off on it. Exactly. The artificial name. The name that most people, when they really start thinking about it, it's just an entity. Oh, it's a name. It's off of the what? Do you fill out forms? Oh, well, I didn't fill out forms. There were forms that were just filled out on my behalf, and I just I fell into the system. That's what people want to say. They want to lack the responsibility to step up to the plate and say, no, they didn't fall into the system. The natural name. The natural name is the so-called name that you just call yourself. Some people change that name. Quite a few people change their natural names. But when we talk about the artificial name, how many people are operating do businesses? That's where their wealth comes from. So is the artificial name for wealth building? The natural name is not for wealth building, right? The artificial names for wealth building, right? That's what we're talking about here. Because we get this conversation that comes to us and says, oh, well, I don't know if I want to be a part of this particular institution or entity, because who originated the contract? Who originated the contract for the artificial name? And who is going to originate any contract for the natural name? If the natural name is not in business, which we know that artificial name is the business name, what is the natural name doing? Saying that it's not going to do any bad things. Why? Because they're the operator. They're the operator. This is the thing nowadays is, are you liable when it is a limited liability? Are you liable? That's the question. Are you natural liable? Whereas the artificial, well, things can go bankrupt, things can go under, things can go south. Companies can lose capital rather quickly. Artificial beings, artificial names, can lose capital rather quickly. Appreciate Missouri for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate Missouri for tuning in live, listening to replay. The artificial name. This is a name you're gonna see a lot of people just want to sit on the internet and talk about and say that this has some validity, when in all actuality, it's just something to take you and distract you away from building your wealth. You hear these people on the internet talking about these different type of trusts, with their names and things like that, and it's hard for people to hear. Like, oh man, I can't believe you saying that the government don't have a trust set up for me. What difference does it make? Man, I'm saying, oh, like they did it, and so I need to get some money. No, you don't. You need to build money. You got to build cash flow. You got to build the reserves. You got to build. You have to maintain. You have to grow. You have to figure it out. But to say that the government owes you something is the entitlement mentality. That's not trusteeship, because trusteeship doesn't have an entitlement mentality. Trusteeship mindset says that you're a manager of assets. The artificial name could be a trust, and you're just a manager of it. But the thing about it is they see the interesting level of people that they come at it from an entitlement mentality and say, "Oh, well, there's something out there that owes me something." So an artificial name is owed something now. No artificial name is owed anything. So let's just keep the proper record keeping for these entities. Because if that's what they're talking about, that's what they're talking about. How many people know about the different types of record keeping? But they don't. But we don't hear people really come around with the conversation about the style of accounting that they're utilizing. We just hear them ask about the traditional cash method, and then we hear, oh, well, we're going to do business and we're going to do it like we're some big financial institution which is using two sides of the ledger. That's not accurate. Most small businesses are not utilizing double bookkeeping. So when we see that, you see that, you have to be in the ways of you have to be in the ways of being able to connect with people that are in the same environment as you, so they speak the same language, so you're doing the right things. Some people say, "Oh, I'm on the internet, man. I need to find me a good way to get, connected with the right people that are focused on making sure that I'm doing business the right way." Well, what happened to the local chamber of commerces? We're not saying that you have to do that. We're not saying that that's the most impressive place that you're going to meet business people, but it does put you in the environment of the local county area, for the chamber of commerce for that area. Sometimes it's for cities, sometimes it's for the county. They have different real estate environments that you can go to for different counties. But how does that deal with the artificial name? Well, how many people in real estate are doing business as name, as a general contractor? They're buying properties as an artificial name. They have their name, then they have the company name LLC, but they're still doing business as a sole prop. They just have an artificial name in front of them. And they're buying real estate through an LLC, but they're still the co-signer. It's through an artificial name. Who's the name of the company that owns it on the books? Dingeldorf LLC on the books. That's the difference between the natural name and the artificial name. Is how business is done now. Oh wow, do I need to PG it? Do I need to personally guarantee that loan? Depends on how big the real estate is. Clearly, you can see that depending on the market, people are PGing. That's what makes it an artificial name. Because think about it, if it was in the business name by itself, the artificial name is the business name, but the personal name is now not attached to it. The natural name is now not attached to it. Only in the respect of as a signer, as a business person, you're the manager. That's what we all are. We're managers, we're stewards. So how do we get past that? We don't get past it. But some people think they get past it because they think they special snowflakes out here trying to discharge debt like they the government. It's not gonna happen. And even if that's the case, what's the point of trying to dig for gold when there's no reserves there? What's the point? It's not just the young people problem. We get older people talking about, yeah, that's my artificial name. What do you mean that's your artificial name? That's how you know you don't know what you're doing. Your artificial name. Right. Oh, that's my government name. Or that's the name that the government uses for me. And it's like everything you start talking into possessive, so it's over for you. It's a wrap. You think you got it together. Oh, well, there's this entity out there for me, the so-called government treasury account and all this other stuff. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's hard for people to hear, oh man, it's not gonna happen en masse, so that means it can't happen for me. You're right. But we're not saying everything that doesn't happen en masse isn't gonna happen for you, but we know one thing for sure, that's not, because it's not happening en masse. Is it becoming financially independent in various different ways? Yes. So all you gotta do is get wealthy and protect it. That's what we talking about at the vault. You gotta get wealthy and protect it. You gotta protect it and get wealthy. We're not saying, oh, somebody owes you something. You gotta get wealthy and protect it. Stay wealthy and protect it. But they want to talk about a natural name. Oh, the natural name, man. You know, I could get a house or something like this. Did you build the house from scratch? No. The materials weren't free, were they? No. Did you pay for all of those materials before you got in there? No. Where did this vigilante thought process come from? It came from people trying to get something for nothing. That's where it came from. And that's what can hold you in what would be considered the lower levels. But when you get to the higher level, we posted one time, we said, do you think wealthy people have mortgages? No, because that defeats the purpose of them being wealthy. They're wealthy because they don't have debts in their so called personal name. Everything's in a business. So we're not saying that the businesses don't own properties. We're not saying that. We're not saying that entities don't own properties. What we're talking about is they don't have them in their personal name. But somebody could easily confuse that and say, "Oh man, they saying well wealthy people must have it in the personal capacity because why would they just do it in the business? They gotta have something in their personal name. They ain't gonna not have a credit card. Why would they? They're wealthy. The reason why they're wealthy is because they have companies that did that. So you don't follow suit on the back end, you follow suit on the front end. Appreciate the DMV for tuning in live, listen, and replay. Always appreciate the DMV for tuning in live, listen, and replay. Well, man, trust Christian involved. Look, I come from a certain situation. You know, my ancestors were carried over on some type of over here on this land, and we here, and we got to come up from our bootstraps. Yeah, and a few of your generations done been through a few economic booms, haven't they? Didn't they used to have black banks? So you can't say, "Whoa, I'm trying to get into a black. Where's the black bank at?" They used to have them in your ancestors and generations. So you can't even say that they didn't have the opportunity to uphold the black bank. You got to put money in the black bank to keep it open, right? But when you don't diversify the portfolio, there's going to be bigger banks and better banks to offer different rates and everything. That's what happens in a competitive marketplace. Well, they say you're not just competing on price, and you're not. But the artificial name, people say, oh man, I got to build an artificial name now. You're right. And what's wrong with that? You got to build something up. You actually got to build something. Not sit here and try to discharge off of it. Oh man, I got this name and I should be able to discharge off of it. What kind of securities fraud type thought process is that? You might as well go to a securities exchange agent and ask them, how do we deal with this when it comes to this particular thought process? Why? Because that's who's going to be able to give you the most quality information. Not sitting here talking to somebody else, talking about, oh man, well, you could do this through the internet, and they sitting over here in their living room or they're sitting in their den. Why don't you just go talk to the securities agents yourself and say, hey, I need you to have this, I need you to look over this contract. But we know it's not that easy. The artificial name is a business. So you obviously still got to have good accountants, and obviously we got to have good lawyers around us. That's what happens when you go into the artificial game. But oh no, I didn't think I need any of those people. This is what they say. I don't need a lawyer, blah. That's what they actually say. It's like, so who's gonna defend the artificial name in court? Because it's artificial name is dealing with the artificial rules, right? Right. So who's gonna go in court and deal with it? Oh man, right. They start getting a little happy foot. And this is what you deal with, ladies and gentlemen. People contact and they reach out and they say, oh man, I'm out here trying to deal with, this situation. I got a situation that they dealing with. They always got situations they going to deal with. Why? Because they out here in the public. That's what the artificial name is. It's the public. It's the public versus the private again. That's what it's always going to be. It's the public and the private. The artificial name and the versus the natural name is the public versus the private. So why would you be saying you own the name in the public? Why would you be saying anything other than you're a manager of the name in the public? But instead, they don't say that they're the manager. They say they're the owner. They say it's my name. And that's why we be eating them up all the time. Because they're the owner of these artificial names. Instead of being the managers. Instead of being the fiduciaries. They don't want to be the fiduciaries because they don't want to be held liable. Why? Because they're not good fiduciaries. They're trying to hide something. That's the issue. And we're here to work on it. We're here to share with it because we're going to start going over some cases where we could talk about the public versus the private, because that's all this effort is going to be about. It's the public versus the private. But everybody wants to be public because that's the new way to get rich. Oh, it's always been the way to get rich. Why? You got to take a company public. But how many people are trying to take companies public and list it on the stock market and then get their shares thrown off as securities and promises to pay that way? They're not trying to do that. No, they're over here trying to get the promises to pay through their own security name, trying to risk away their soul. That's how they call selling away. They're selling away. They're selling his soul. They're selling his soul that way. Yeah, right. Through a natural name. Oh, I'm the signature. Here's what they say. They say I'm the signature. I think we can't go there. I can go there. Oh, you going there with? Are you restricting your signature? They're not restricting their signature. They might not even know about that. So if they're not restricting their signature, how they just signing it naked? How you think they got the Native Americans? They didn't know about restricting the signature. On whose capacity are they signing on behalf of? They were nature beings. They didn't have a group that they were necessarily signing on behalf of. They were individuals. But that's how they got you. Because you're an individual. That's your artificial name. What's your natural name? That's the difference, ladies and gentlemen. The difference in the business. The business mindset and the personal mindset. It's not going to be easy. But you got to distinguish the artificial from the natural. How do you distinguish these two? You understand that, okay, things that are fake quote unquote have the numbers attached to them. They have these numbers attached to them. That's what we know. The natural doesn't have the name number attached to it. The artificial has the numbers attached to it. Somebody said, "Oh, well, I'm just supposed to stop using this number." Well, ladies and gentlemen, how you gonna say you want to go private and you really don't want to go private? If you want to go private, you got to be willing to go all the way. It's really not that far, but whether you know it or not, it is far from where you may be at, because you may come from a broken home, and in the private, it's focused on family business. That's what it's focused on. We share with our trustees different type of uh, subjects that they can look into to see how families are working together in the private. There's examples, and we have to share them with them. If we keep talking about it's public versus private, you know what you investing in. You investing in your private education. How good could that get? Oh man, I got burnt by a few guys on the internet. They told me I was gonna be in this situation. They got me in trust, blah blah. And the next thing you know, bam bam bam, I really don't know what I'm doing. How many times are they reaching out saying I really don't know what I'm doing? How many times are they reaching out saying, look, I'm in this situation. It could have been a lawyer. What do you mean? They got lawyers that these people are coming in and no, man, I don't know. This lawyer got me in this situation, and I don't really know because I haven't gone back to them. Sometimes they pass away, sometimes they move on, blah blah blah. They trying to dust this off this contract that they got from a lawyer, blah blah blah, things like that. That's what they're trying to do. Oh man, maybe it's even an accountant set him up and some stuff. Oh, an accountant set up my sister in this entity, and now I'm gonna go in and do it too. So we both in trust now, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So the accountants really no help. They haven't really helped us out much. The artificial name, the entities that you're managing. What happened to business management? Well, that's what the vault provides in the consultation is business management consulting. You got to be consulted on what you're doing. Somebody like, oh, you're an encyclopedia. It's not that. When you are a senior trustee, you're seeing quite a bit actually, and that's the benefit of it. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate everybody tuning in live, listen, replay. Feel free to reach out. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com.